Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle. And then Ryan's is our HOLM22. It's your Zoom screen. I changed mine to my name finally, and then you changed yours back. I think you changed yours back to your Twitter. I think that's pretty funny.
I change it every time I log in.
So the Raiders lose to the Chiefs again. Surprise, surprise. I almost had the score on this one. I listen. They are. I'll just say one thing about this. So, Bo Hardigree, you know, a nice little flash at the beginning of the game. You know, whatever. I can understand some of the moves that Antonio Pierce did not make because when you're a linebacker coach, you're a little bit further away from being the head coach, opposed to Bo Hardigree, who is like when you're a quarterback's coach, you're not that far away from calling plays. Like you're close, and I just feel like it was really no. I mean, after like you tweeted at me, you tweeted to me about or you texted me about how, you know, the offense went dormant right after that Josh Jacobs run, and it was nowhere to be found after that. And it was basically that in a nutshell. They didn't have anything of substance going on in this drive, and I feel like it was just all or nothing. Let me just throw the ball deep down the field. You know, that is not really conducive for consistent offense.
Yeah, it's kind of what we've seen the last couple of weeks. They got out of the gates pretty good, went right down the field, scored a touchdown with some creative plays. You kind of saw that Jacoby Myers had, I don't know if it was on the first drive, but it was early in the game where they ran that kind of reverse that turned into an option, you know, just new wrinkles. And that's what he had done against the Giants and Jets. He had some wrinkles in there. And then once you run out of the wrinkles, there's really nowhere for him to go. And that happened, I would say, after the second drive, and then Jacobs just happened to get loose on a wide zone run. I don't think it was anything play design wise that really allowed that. It was just a good block by Miller and Mayer, and then Jacobs did the rest. And then after that, it was, other than the slot fade on 3rd and short where they just hucked the ball down the field, that Jacoby Myers made a great catch on. Other than that, they didn't score. They weren't moving the football.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. You can't survive in the National Football League running on 2nd and 10, even with good quarterbacks. You definitely can't survive running on 2nd and 10 when you have a rookie quarterback, and then you have nothing up your sleeve on 3rd down. So the Raiders converted some 3rd downs, but I went back and counted, and I think I sent it to you. I'm going to look at it here real quick just so I have the right numbers. But the Raiders had 2nd and 8 plus on 7 occasions today. Take out the last 2 drives where they turned it over on downs. They were down 2 touchdowns. 7 times they had 2nd and 8 plus. They ran it 5. So they basically they were playing to get the 3rd and medium, 3rd and short. You're allowed to get first downs on 2nd down. I don't know if Bo Hardigree knows that. And Aiden O'Connell was throwing the ball fine today, and they just went away from it. The 2 times they threw the ball, one of them was on the reverse, where Myers ended up throwing the ball out of bounds when it wasn't open. And they had 2nd and 6 or more. 11 times they ran it 8. So basically, when it was 2nd down, they ran the ball. So they ran it on 1st, they ran it on 2nd. They weren't running the ball very well either. Josh Jacobs, you know, you take away the long run, he had 19 carries for 47 yards.
Yep.
So it's not like he was getting 4 and 5 yards a chunk. I mean, he was running it for 1, running it for 2. And Aiden O'Connell made some really good throws in the first half to extend some drives. But then when they got into the second half, and it basically turned on the drive midway through the second quarter where Bo Hardigree called the 2nd and 10 run to Zamir White, and they didn't get anything. And on 3rd and 10, he called a screen, which is basically a throwaway. You can't do that against the Chiefs. You have Davante Adams. Throw the ball down the field to Davante Adams twice. Try to get a first down. The minute you start giving drives away against an offense like the Chiefs, when you can't get to 20, you're not going to win the game. And they basically did that midway through the second quarter. In a blink of an eye, the Chiefs score, the Chiefs get the ball, the Chiefs score, and it's 21-14, and your lead is gone.
Yeah, and another thing is the play clock thing. Like, it's it doesn't take it when you're up against a team that loves to blitz and gets pressure. Like you also are allowed to run the play at 10 seconds or 8 seconds. When you run it against the clock all the time. You saw it when McDuffie had a blitz in the game. Like it's like it's not going to be like you're not Peyton Manning. So like this is not going to be like a quick throw to Marvin Harrison. We get first down. I got perfect plays called. They know. I mean, like everybody knows that you're up against the play clock. So like you got to be able to get the plays in quicker and go like not so methodically that it's up against the play clock every single time.
Yeah, and a lot of that too is you have a rookie quarterback trying to get to the line, try to make the formation, make sure everyone's set, make sure the line call. I do think the notion that everyone thought that the Raiders couldn't run the ball because Jimmy G can't throw the ball down the field, I think that's been dispelled. Like Aiden O'Connell's been throwing the ball down the field, and guess what? They can't run the ball either. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact the middle of their offensive line just doesn't get any push.
That's
And then
terrible.
teams are not scared. Teams are just coming after them. And it's weird that they know how to get Devontae Adams the ball in the first quarter and a half of games, and then he just disappears for 2.5 quarters, and that's happened over and over and over again. I don't know why that is. I don't know why they go away from him. I don't know why he doesn't say something on the sideline. Maybe he does, but for some reason, they just stop throwing him the ball, and the offense immediately stalls. The minute they stop throwing the ball to Devontae Adams, they can't go anywhere.
Yep.
And then Trey Tucker was nowhere to be found. But it was good to see O'Connell spread the ball around. He got Myers involved. He got Adams involved early. He got Mayer, a couple to Renfro. But it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason to anything that they were doing on offense about midway through the second quarter and on. And to hear Antonio Pierce after the game talk about we're trying to protect the quarterback and all this, which is good. You have a rookie quarterback. You can't do that against the Chiefs. Let him go out there and fail if he fails. But you have to put him in the position to know what you have there. You're evaluating him for the future. But your only opportunity to hold on to this job is to play with house money. It just go out there and be aggressive and make calls that are against the grain and try to pick up plays and throw the ball down the field and fake punt and do some stuff that's going to put you in a position to keep this job. You can't go out there and play it safe. Your team's not good enough. And the fact that we've seen them now lose 2 games in a row, and let's be honest, they came out ready to go both weeks. I applaud Antonio Pierce and the coaching staff for getting the team ready, but they've fallen flat basically in the middle of the second quarter now 2 weeks in a row, and that also falls on the coaching. But there's also some conservativeness going on with the coaching staff that's aiding in that. And the other side of it, I see people say, "Well, you got to keep the foot on the pedal the whole game. You can't let up." Well, teams in the NFL can't just go up and down the field and score at will. You can't just because they scored on the first 2 drives assume they should score on every drive and that they should put up 30 plus points every week. But I just don't think he's been aggressive enough the last 2 weeks for what he's talking about. And if he's going to coach this way and misuse timeouts and challenge stuff that has no business being challenged halfway through the first quarter and losing that might come to get you later in the game, and then not going for it on 4th and 1, which I agreed with the field goal decision at the time. I don't think they lost the game because they didn't go for it 4th and 1 there. But when you're going for it 4th and 1 later in the game, you got to have a better play call than what they called, just running up the middle and the whole defense is standing there waiting to meet Jacobs. But Antonio Pierce is slowly losing a grasp on this job that he clearly had his hands on. And it's going to be really important the next 2 to 3 weeks. They're going to have to win some of these games, or else I don't think Antonio Pierce holds on to this job, because I don't think they're winning at Kansas City. And I don't think they're winning against the Colts the way the Colts are playing right now. And they're going to have to figure out how to beat the Broncos, beat the Chargers, and maybe beat the Vikings for him to even think about keeping this job. Or else the Raiders are going to be looking for a new coach, which probably means they're looking for a new defensive coordinator, which clearly means they're looking for a new offensive coordinator. So if Antonio Pierce wants to keep this job, he needs to coach like he's got nothing to lose. And right now he's coaching not to lose.
We're trying to protect the quarterback who I won't coach next year if we don't win. Like
exactly.
It makes absolutely no sense. Like I'm not
He's
sure.
not going to be the quarterback of this team next year, no matter what.
Anyway, so just he is a set. I hate to say it like this, But like, I'll put it to you. I'll put it to Antonio Pierce this way: this is a sacrificial lamb. They do not want Jimmy G on the field. I'm surprised Jimmy G is even active for these games.
We almost saw him today.
We almost saw him today. So I think somebody might just say, hey, you know what? Let's not make him active for the game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because like it's really like he is this. So Aiden O'Connell is only there to just get us through the season. Like that's it. He is not the future. He is not going to stop, Champ Kelly or whoever is the GM to drafting a quarterback. I hate to say this, and I know, and I when I looked at the schedule, and then finally all the good feelings kind of went away a little bit when they lost to Miami. I thought they would lose every game for the rest of the season. So we'll see if that takes place. The one game I'm really worried about, the Chargers are going to charge, so they might win that one. But the Vikings are coming in. When the Vikings come in, like this is another test for a head coach. What is Andy Reid known for a lot of different things, offense, all these things, but he's also known for, it didn't happen this year, but he's also known for winning games after the bye. They have a bunch of time to sit down and think about the 4 games that they coached, and can they beat the Viking team who they're going to have 2 weeks to prepare for? That's a huge part of coaching as well.
Well, he's going to need to beat them. They're going to have Justin Jefferson back, which is going to be a huge boost for them.
Yep.
They're gonna have to deal with Josh Dobbs. The Vikings don't run the ball very well, other than the quarterback. They turn it over quite a bit. They fumble a lot. The defense, Aiden O'Connell's going to see
a lot of blitzing.
Basically covers you. Brian Flores is coming after him. We'll preview that game after the bye. But going back to this Chiefs game, I want to talk about Patrick Graham because I don't know what the Raiders are doing defensively. I know that Max Crosby was dinged up, clearly wasn't 100%. But this whole idea that you're just going to sit back and play zone, which the Raiders have played a lot of this year, and not decide to cover Travis Kelce over the middle of the field for most of the game. And then it looked to me from the broadcast, we'll look at the All-22, it looked like they were kind of doing the mush rush, or was kind of like get up the field but then stop. You saw Max Crosby do it a lot, where it's kind of just stop, make sure Patrick Mahomes doesn't get outside the pocket. But you can't just let him stand there for 6 or 7 seconds when you're playing a soft zone behind it. They didn't really blitz him. And when they decided to bench Marcus Peters, which I think was the right call, kudos to Antonio Pierce for having what was described as a spirited conversation on the sideline with Marcus Peters when he decided just not to tackle again. At that point, they should have just started playing man and doubling Kelce. And then if you get beat by Sky Moore or Justin Watson or whoever else they're running out there, tip your cap to them. But you can't let Patrick Mahomes just stand back there for 6 or 7 seconds against a 4-man rush who's really not trying to get after him, and just let him throw the ball 7 or 8 yards underneath and just pick up first down after first down after first down. Make him throw the ball down the field, pressure him. And they didn't do that. The Chiefs are not going to beat you outside one-on-one if you play man coverage. You just have to know where the running back is, and you have to know where Kelce is. And the Raiders' game plan today is the game plan we've seen from Patrick Graham for 2 years. They don't really double anyone. They let the other offense dictate to them what they want. They're just going to play cover 3 and cover 4. And when you're playing Tommy DeVito and Zach Wilson, it looks great. That's not going to beat good quarterbacks in the National Football League.
It is not. It is not. It is not. They are not. I mean, it's just really bad. So
it's not.
It's not. Yeah. So as far as like, so guys, so we got stuff with this. I didn't like the I would have, in the moment, I would have gone for it. They didn't lose the game because of it, but the field goal makes sense. Like the field goal makes sense, but the way they were moving the football, I was like, let me just go for it, just to see if I can get up 14-0. You're gonna need points to beat Mahomes anyway. Carlson, of course, missed it. We should have known that. So this was not a good day when Carlson misses a field goal. When was the last time Carlson and Tucker missed field goals in the same freaking week?
And Cole shanked a punt too.
It's not good. That's
a 32-yarder.
Yeah, that's a stinker as well.
They did get up 14-0 eventually. They just didn't do it on that drive.
And on that drive, yeah, they got 14-0. I mean, they there's more to the game than the first quarter and the second quarter, and that's what, and that I think that's the biggest thing that he has to kind of. What are they not doing in a second? It just feels like they just don't have a grasp on how to get to that point. And you see Hardigree with Pierce next to him, And like I'm killing Carter, but like, is this guy telling him to like, hey, like let's run the ball here on 2nd and 10? Like, I mean, like, can we get a guy on this who coaches the Raiders who doesn't want to run on 2nd and 10? Like, like can we just if you throw on 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, you gotta throw you gotta throw again, and it's kind of frustrating as far as that goes, but. I don't know. The Raiders are, somebody just tweeted about the Chargers. I'm like, it doesn't make me feel better that the Chargers are 4-7, but and the Raiders are 5-7. But the Raiders really, I don't know. I don't really know where to go as far as this head coach goes. I think Kelly is in place, but I think it's very up in the air now for AP. He has to come out and come out gangbusters against that Vikings team.
I think it goes back to the way this team's constructed. They spend a lot of money on skill position players they just don't want to use. And they want to be a physical, run the football team, which makes sense with a rookie quarterback, but then they didn't invest on interior linemen that road graders can move guys. So like the offense they want to run is not the offense that they actually run out on the field, which to me is on Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. But I think Antonio Pierce should see that and say, you know what, if I'm going to keep this job, maybe I should get the ball to 17. That number 13 guy is all right. Yeah. Number 16 is pretty good. Hey, 87 is good if we actually throw it to him. And they need to start getting the ball in the hands of these playmakers on the outside. They can't live and die with these 14 or 15 play drives to get a field goal because they're not scoring in the red zone. They're going to have to start, number 11's on the team too. They're going to have to start scoring points in the passing game. And they've come out, and Aiden O'Connell, to his credit, has thrown the ball well in the first half. And basically the 3 of the last 4 games. Yeah. And then they just go away from it. And they just want to be like, okay, well, now we're going to run the ball. And then it's run the ball on 2nd and 8, run the ball on 2nd and 9. And you're not doing him any favors by making it 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 9. And if you turn the ball over, he turns the ball over. But to think that they can play it close to the vest against a team like the Chiefs, you could do that against the Giants and Jets. More power to you. You can't play that way against the better teams in the league and expect to win those games.
Yeah.
If your defense isn't creating 3 turnovers, and which they did against the Dolphins that kept them in the game, but they didn't create any today. And they stopped the run again, which is pretty good. But Kansas City didn't even want to run the ball. I think what happened was Andy Reid was like, all right, well, Pacheco's not really getting going. And oh, wait, they're just going to zone us up, and they're just going to let Kelsey have free releases, and we can just throw it to him whenever we want. Oh, and they're not going to really pressure Patrick Mahomes. We're going to throw the ball 40 times today.
Yeah.
Which is a good job by them. But I don't know what's going on at halftime. The Raiders have been terrible in the third quarter all season. They were terrible in the third quarter again today. And then in the fourth quarter, they just can't make the plays they need to. And the defense, as good as they've played, gave up too many points in the red zone. They didn't hold the Chiefs to really field goals today, which is what they needed to do. And at the end of the day, neither one of them was expected to win this game. I think the frustrating part is to know that they've done it in flashes, that they had a chance to win that Miami game. They were up 14-0 and had the game in control today. And then it kind of just all went away. And that's what we're used to seeing as Raiders fans. And we were hoping that with the change in the coaching staff, it's still the same players. I get it, but you would like to see them finish, and they just haven't done that. And they didn't really finish the Jets game either. Like they won on a Hail Mary, but they could have put that game away a couple of times. And they didn't do it in that game either. So it's a learning experience for everyone. But I think it all goes back to if AP or Bo, if Bo wants to keep this job, Bo better dial up some plays. If AP wants to keep this job, he needs to start being much more aggressive. And then the one thing we talked about, and we know, they beat the Giants 30-6, but we said, when is he going to use timeouts? How is he going to use challenges? What is he going to do when he has to make critical decisions? And I think over the last 2 weeks, he hasn't passed that test.
Yeah. And then with Paul, with Patrick Graham too, like you create pressure, you create turnovers from pressure. Like very few times do you ever like create, turnovers without adding pressure to the quarterback. And if you're gonna sit back and just let, Patrick Mahomes just sit back there on a lawn chair, it's not gonna work. And then for the Raiders, I mean, if you're losing games the way Houston lost to the Jaguars on this week, and the way they've been playing and fighting every single week and doing it, then you can live with it. Then I think if they did that every game the rest of the year, but they lost, he could walk into the office and say, "Listen, man, like you got me with a fourth round quarterback. Like I'm trying my best to do something here. I know this locker room. Give me a chance to be the head coach, whatever, whatever." But I just don't see how that takes place if you continue to lose this way. Like this conservativeness is just not. It's not it. Like it's not. It's not going to be the way to get your job. You get your job. This is the typical thing, or it's a typical reason why people don't want the Raiders to have a defensive coach. Because a lot of times defensive coaches are the ones who do this conservative play to the best. They treat their defense as if they have the 85 Bears when you don't.
Yeah, and that is the one downside of having a defensive coach. And then if you do have a good offensive coordinator, you usually lose them within a year or two, and you're constantly trying to fill that position. Mike Tomlin's done it, but Mike Tomlin had a Hall of Fame quarterback he was doing it with. The Raiders don't have anything close to that. So I think the more this goes along, I love the Antonio Pierce story. I love his background. I love that he's a Raider fan at heart and he's doing the best he can. I just don't think he's done enough at this point
Yep.
to say, yeah, he's the guy moving forward that's going to lead this team into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl. He might be. We'll see what he does over the next 5 weeks, but it's 5 weeks and he can't lose games the way he's done it the last 2 weeks, where he's just basically gone ultra conservative. And I just, they weren't running the ball again. It's not like they were getting 5 or 6 yards of carry. I just go back to the continually running the ball on second and long. Like the best case scenario on 2nd and 8 is it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and you still
Yeah.
have to make another play to get a first down.
Yep.
I just think those are great opportunities to use play action, throw the ball down the field, get the ball to 17. And if I'm Devontae Adams, they can't even get me 100 yards a week. Like you're Devontae freaking Adams, and you got to watch Keenan Allen go for 35 catches in 3 weeks. And I watch teams all over the league get the ball to their number one receiver all day, every game, and the Raiders just can't do it for multiple quarters at a time, and it's so frustrating.
Yep. His worst games of his career are all with the Raiders, regardless of who was the quarterback, whether it was Derek Carr or AOC. Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters. I don't listen, like let's just going forward with the whole with the whole like I was a Raider fan growing up shit. Like if you're gonna do it, can we just get the guys like just get the guys like Devontae? Like I don't need like the Raider fan from Oakland who just doesn't want to play football. Like he doesn't like part of football is like tackling. I mean, he's making Deion Sanders look like Ronnie Lott tackling. Like it's really bad. Like it's really that some of these Olay things. Like I don't know why people don't run sweeps or run zone stuff to his side all the time. Like that was probably one of the worst efforts I've seen. Him and Deontay Johnson got the worst effort of the week awards as far as their his blocking and his tackling goes. I mean, some people feel like he's going to be released this coming up soon? Do you feel like he will make it through the bye week and continue to be a Raider?
I don't think he's going to make it through the bye week. I think it was a message from Antonio Pierce that we're just not going to accept this anymore. The Raiders are out of the playoffs for all intents and purposes, so there's no reason to keep him around at this point. And it says something to your locker room. When you're Max Crosby and you're in the hospital on Thursday and you're sick, he was in the hospital on Thursday. I didn't know that. It was released after the game. When you have a bad knee and you're trying to get it through the season, when you're Nate Hobbs, when you're Marcus Epps and you have a neck injury, then you get a stinger and you drag your body out to get through the second half.
Yeah.
When you're Amik Robertson and you're throwing around your 5'8" body, and then you have to watch the effort. If you're Robert Spillane playing with a broken hand, and then you look over there and see, and someone take the 24 jersey away from him. Like, I'm over it. Like,
Yeah,
get it
please
off
stop
of him.
that. Stop that, dude.
Yeah, if Antonio Pierce wants to and Champ Kelly want to put their foot down, and I think they should in this case, they should absolutely release him during the bye week. They don't need him. You can play Jack Jones. You have Robertson. You have Hobbs. You have Bennett, who is inactive. You have corners you can put out there. Are they the best corners in the league? No. But at this
No.
point, you're out of the playoffs. Get some run for the young guys. You have Tyler Hall, who doesn't play anymore. Put Tyler Hall out there, who didn't play much today. So they have plenty of options a cornerback to the point where they don't need to put up with Marcus Peters and his lack of effort and his bullfighting, we'll call it, his Olay tackling. I just think of Roger Dorn from the movie Major League. We don't need any more of this Olay bullshit. Like that's literally he's
I
like
love
Roger
that.
Dorn trying to field ground balls.
I
He's
love
trying to
that.
tackle someone.
I love that. I love that. I think too as well. Like, can I like, is it possible? And like, can we take? I know we picked 7th overall. And what I'm going to
I
say
know this is coming.
is it possible that with the way he's played and the way he's been so inactive, just make him inactive for a game? Has there ever been a healthy scratch for a offensive or defensive player, not a quarterback, who was taken in the top 10? Like, I mean, that's just like, I mean, it's time for Tyree to sit a little bit, because like, I mean, like Sylvester. I mean, I want to see all the young people play. Like, I don't want to see anybody else. I don't want to see anybody whatever play. We didn't get the teamer and his situation. Whatever. But like, I want to see all the young folks play. Like, let him have it, because I mean, he's a young guy, but he plays like an old man. Like, he does not move. He doesn't move well at all. I don't know what this prayer regime saw in Tyree Wilson, but he's not it. He's not doing anything.
Yeah, he doesn't play a lot as it is. He's a rotational guy. I don't know if sitting him is the proper thing. You still want him to get the reps. You still need to get him out there. He's not out there for a ton of snaps. It's maybe 15 or 20 a game. Half of them are rundowns. I think you still need to get him reps. I still think you need to get him used to the speed of the NFL. I don't think you're going to get an impact this year. He's going to have to make a massive jump in the offseason. He's going to have to get with Chuck Smith or one of these pass rush coaches, or he's going to have to be with Max Crosby every day and figure out how to use his hands. He's not going to win with speed. So now it comes down to like using that length and strength that he has and getting his hand placement right to where he can dominate the offensive tackle. And he's going to have to get in the weight room and get stronger. He's going to have to physically just overpower the guys he's going with, because he doesn't have the bend. He's not a pure pass rusher, and we knew that when they drafted him. He was never going to be a 12 to 15 sack guy. He was going to be step the edge, win with power, be able to create pressure from the other side opposite Max. I'm at a point now where, like, probably give him one more year, but like, I may be dipping my toes in the pass rushing market, even in free agency. And if it means I don't have to play him full time, if I'm Champ Kelly or I'm whoever the new GM is, I'm doing it. Like, he can easily say Tyree wasn't my pick. But again, I don't want to give up on him after 1 year. He didn't have OTAs. He was injured. We don't know if that foot's even fully healthy. We don't know if there's anything else going on. Let's give him an off season and see what he looks like next year. But I'm not going into the season saying he's a definite starter. You're definitely going to address that position.
You can't. Yeah. You can't do that. You can't do that.
And everyone that says just move him inside, like, you can't do that either. He's like 6'6", and he's pretty lean. Like, this isn't like, you want those guys to win pad level and get low and push back guards. Like, he's not going to beat guys that are 330 pounds in a phone booth. Like, his arms are way too long. He's never going to get his hands in the right place. You're just going to have to live with the fact he's a guy that's going to set the edge. He should be good in the run game and can get you 6 to 8, maybe 10 sacks in a good year and cause some fumbles with his length and just be a complementary piece next to Max Crosby. He's not going to be a perennial Pro Bowl pass rusher. That was never what he was going to be.
Is this game today like the best that the Raiders could expect from Aiden O'Connell? Like, this is probably, like, looking at his numbers today and looking at him, this is top Aiden O'Connell game, right? I mean, it's like, we're not going to get much better than that, right?
I mean, hopefully you get some more touchdowns. You get
a little more scoring, a little bit more scoring.
I think I want to see him go the other way. I think I want to see him on 3rd and 3, instead of like force the ball down the field. Just get the first down. Get to the next series of plays. Take your chances on 1st and 2nd down when it's there. It's hard to do that when you're turning around and handing it off every 1st and 2nd down. But I think there was guys open last week on the 4th down play where he overthrew Jacoby Myers down the sideline where he could have gotten the first down. I think he's aggressive, but at times, like, understanding the down and distance, where the right read is, where the one-on-one matchup is. I think he's still having a hard time reading defense and understanding those concepts. I do think that just the total lack of ability to create on his own or get outside the pocket. I
Brutal.
thought the offensive line played really well today in the pass protection. Like, they didn't really get around him. I think they only sacked him one time late in the game.
Yeah.
It's not like he was under pressure the whole game, and that showed. He got the ball out, but he just wasn't converting in the second half. And when you have number 17, I just think that there's times where he needs to figure out, okay, when do I need to throw it to 17? And clearly there's been stretches in games where he just doesn't do that, where he just goes to
Or
somebody
just give him a chance, like
else.
on some of these balls. Like, I mean, like, he takes some, like it's some of these sacks or something. He doesn't take a lot of sacks, but he does take these, like, there's sometimes that little statue, these little statue plays where he's like standing in the pocket for a little bit. I'm like, hey, like the O-line did their job. Like, we're getting on that 4th second. That ball got to come out. Like, I mean, even if it's incompletion where you just throw the ball away so they can keep the line of scrimmage where it is, like, you got to be able to do that part of it too as well. So I didn't think I agree with you. I didn't think the line was terrible today, but obviously that's a part where quarterback and O-line, will probably be a spot where I think they would definitely try to improve themselves coming in the offseason. I think also too, I mean, even if Josh Jacobs comes back, like, the collection of running backs they have behind him is just like, I think some of these drops happen because I think he had a couple drops today. Just like he's a little exhausted. He could just use for somebody to come in the game and just give him like 4 or 5 carries, every once in a while. And Zamir White with 2 hands on the ball, like, tippy-toeing to the hole is not going to be it.
Well, where's this guy they called Zeus?
I
I
don't
haven't
know.
seen him.
Listen,
I would
not,
say on the one Jacobs on little angle route, I think Aiden O'Connell put a little extra mustard on that ball and just fired it in there from like 3 yards away, and it looked like it hit him pretty close to the groin area. Like,
that came in
you
kind
gotta
of hot.
lead the little touch, lead that out in front of him. Yeah, and there has to be a change of pace. You can't just rely on Josh Jacobs to carry the ball 25 times and hold up in pass protection and then catch 3 or 4 passes and be on the field. He's basically the Max Crosby of the offense.
Yep.
It's just hard for me still to fathom that you have a team that has Adams and Jacobs and Myers and Renfro and Mayer, and they scored 20 points one time. We're in week 12. One time.
That's bad. And Mayer is, like, you saw on that one catch, like, that dude's he's done. He is an absolute bully, just waiting to just be unleashed in the NFL. Like, he really wants to just destroy people. And they just don't give him like, he has earned, like, the way his blocking has improved throughout this season. He has earned the right to have maybe some plays just called for him and not always be like the 3rd or 4th option.
Yeah, and when they have used him, they did a couple times. They got him the ball as the primary option today, and he picks up yards. He breaks tackles. He doesn't go down easily.
Yeah, never the first
And
guy.
he's a guy that DBs don't want to mess with. So, I just think this team wants to have the identity of, we're the big bad bulls and we want to run the ball, but this team is not built that way because all the money spent on the perimeter, and they don't have between Parham, James, and Van Roten, they don't have an interior that can move people in the run game. So if you're going to keep turning around and handing the ball off and running into a wall, this is what's going to happen. And I would much rather see them get the ball to Jacobs in the right times, and then if it's 2nd and long, throw the ball. If it's 1st and 10 and you throw in a completion, throw the ball in 2nd and 10. We don't need to run and make it 3rd and 8. Yeah. So I just think that there's a time and a place to when you do that, but we're at the point of the season now where you pretty much should be comfortable throwing the ball in 2nd and 10 most times. Like, there's a playbook in place, and miss me, the Raider fans, I want to say there's only 4 weeks of play calls for Aiden O'Connell. Like, he was in training camp, the whole offense was there.
He has the book.
They know the playbook. Those plays didn't just go away when McDaniels went away. Like, they can still call some of those plays. It's not like he only has 40 plays he can call a game. Like, that's false. That's a rumor that's being spread around that's not true. They can still call the other plays that have been installed. Everyone was in those meetings. And I just want to see them just be able to put together drives. Like, Put a drive here or there, and then 3 and out, 4 and out, or first down, then punt after 3 plays. And just move the ball in the second half. And that's up to the coaching staff. That's up to the players to execute. That's up to the quarterback. Thank God Jacoby Myers made that great catch, but like, is that the pass you want to throw on 3rd and 3? Like, just keep it down the sideline, hope your guy makes a 100% difficulty catch diving. And it was a great throw. It was a great catch, but like, you're not going to live in this league doing that on 3rd and 3.
No, it is not. It is not. It is not. It is not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me, I didn't see it when I watched the Aiden O'Connell I watched at Purdue. I didn't see like this like throw the ball down the field all the time. I mean, they were doing a lot of short passes, crossing routes, things like that. I just felt like it kind of be a little bit of a more of a fit as far as just to get maybe some bigger plays and maybe some crossing routes and some stuff like that, over routes, but it's just not. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, he's but then he wins. It's like, oh, he could be the future for some Raider fans, and then other fans. But if when he loses, it's like, oh, but he's only a 4th round pick. He didn't have the playbook. We can't play both sides. Like, he's out there playing, and he has. If he's being thrown out there where he has no receivers and no talented weapons, that's one thing.
That's the difference, yeah.
But he has a shitload.
He's not Bryce Young, who has literally nothing.
Nothing. Like Bryce Young, I'm watching a play with Bryce Young where he basically he should just like, as soon as the ball would snap to him, he should just lay down. Like, because he doesn't have that kind of play around him. So it's just I don't know. It's weird. He's not the guy. It's all right.
Yeah, I think you have to look at it too. Like, you're trying to beat Patrick Mahomes, and you're trying to beat Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow when he's healthy, and Tua in Miami, and you're trying to beat Jalen Hurts if you ever get to a Super Bowl, and you're trying to beat Josh Allen. You can't do it with Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell could be a starter in this league. He's going to be a bottom third of the league starter at best. So, like,
makes sense.
Can you get through another season with him? Yeah, but this team right now, with assuming Jacobs comes back and assuming Myers is going to be back, and you're going to have Mayer and Adams, and maybe Renfrow moves on. Maybe they move on from Adams, but you're still going to have weapons. This team still has weapons to where if you brought in a first-round quarterback, like, they're going to have enough to be able to survive. But you still have Colton Miller. You're going to need to add a lineman or two, but you can do that in free agency. And then on the defensive side, you can still stack up on some defensive players to help over there. So going with a rookie quarterback, everyone wants to say build up the roster, but no, you get the rookie quarterback and you find out in year 1 or 2, okay, he's your guy. You have 3 years, like the Eagles. They're just going to go out and trade for every single guy that's available because they're paying nothing to their quarterback. The Chargers went out, it didn't work, but they went out and they signed a bunch of dudes to big contracts because they found out Herbert's pretty good. Miami went out and loaded up the roster once they figured out, okay, Tua is going to be the guy. So when you need to get that guy in your system, you need to figure out, within year 1 or year 2, okay, he's good to go. And then that's when you start getting aggressive in the trade market and giving up assets when you have that window.
And then, I mean, you look at, think about it for a second. A couple of years ago, the Eagles came to Allegiant and got their ass kicked, right? And what they've made the playoffs every year since then.
Do you think, assuming Carson Wentz never got hurt and Carson Wentz was still a viable quarterback and Jalen Hurts never plays, they would have had to pay Wentz. They never would have been able to go get AJ Brown or go get the DBs they got last year. They couldn't have gone and got Brad Barrett. They couldn't have gotten Slay. They couldn't have got Gardner Johnson. They couldn't have done what they've done and go get Hassan Reddick. And you know why they can do that? Because they took Jalen Hurts and then he's proved to be pretty good.
Let's go. I mean, Jalen, and like, it's funny because when Jalen Hurts wins the game on that great call, with the quarterback draw, Ryan texts me immediately. I want to if a quarterback. What was it? If a mobile quarterback or bust
or bust.
I mean, it changes.
Turn these games on, and you just see these guys run around and make plays and beat defenses, and like that's something the Raiders don't have, and
they've never had it.
They're in the situation now. If they move forward with Aiden O'Connell, they need to upgrade every piece in the offensive line other than Colton Miller. They need a backup running back. They need to figure out how to get more speed involved in the passing game. They need to build up the defensive line. Like, everything has to be perfect around Aiden O'Connell. And even then, I don't think he's talented enough to take this team to where everyone wants them to go. So
Didn't we?
Give me a guy that can
Yeah.
run around and make plays and do stuff on his own to where everything doesn't have to be perfect. Now, there's going to be growing pains, especially
Yeah.
if it's a rookie like Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix or whoever they decide to go get. I'm not on the team Michael Penix. I know a lot of Raider fans are. I just don't know. I don't think he's that accurate. He's got a great arm. I don't see a ton of touch. He's not mobile. He's got a bad medical. Like I don't think that he can survive in the
Mm.
NFL without everything else being perfect around him. Whereas some of these other guys, they can get out and move and they can go out and make plays. The Raiders' issue now is they're picking 11th. Even if they lose out or win one more game, like it's going to be really hard for them to get into the top 5 or 6. And the way you look at it now, and you start looking at the teams ahead of them, like the Patriots might take a quarterback, the Bears are going to take a quarterback. Who knows what Arizona's going to do? Who knows? The Giants might take a quarterback. The Jets, who knows what they're going to do? Like there's a million teams in front of them. Not a
Yep.
million. There's probably 5 or 6 teams in front of them that need a quarterback. So it's
Quarterback.
not
Yeah.
as easy as saying like just trade up and get the quarterback. Like everyone's
Yeah.
going to be trying to trade up and get the quarterback.
I mean, nobody watches more Pac-10 or Pac-12 film than me. And I would say for Penix, there is a reason why his numbers have dropped dramatically in the last couple of months. People have pretty much figured out,
Pressure.
pressure, how to stop him, and then also like basically the only thing you see him do now is just throw back shoulders to Aduzier. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's all that's open right now because people are not letting that big play down the field. Like I'll put it to you this way: they're undefeated. They're playing the best team in the Pac-12 and with Bo Nix, and they're like what 10-point, 12-point dogs.
I think it opened at 7.5 and quickly went up.
Yeah, quickly went up it went up for a reason because
Oregon is a better football team than
they're a
Washington, even though
better football
Washington
team
beat
than
them.
Washington. It's not even close. It's not even close. So, it is what it is. So, all right, man. I mean, Raider Nation. I don't want to tell you. Enjoy the bye week. We will. Um, but I would say that, like I said, in closing, I would say that listen, it's all. I'm not putting a lot of shit on Aiden Connell's plate. I know who he is, but he's not that guy. He's just here to get us through this season. If they win a couple of games, they could win a couple of games. I mean, I hate to say it, but like it kind of hurts us if they win a couple of games because they really do need these other teams around them. Like Denver's hot, Denver can stay hot. Like they really do need to get the highest pick they possibly can get. They really, I know that's not going to ring true with Raider fans who say just win, baby. And I know AP doesn't want to hear that either because he might not be here for it. But for the success of the franchise, it's a future. They can turn if they keep these pieces together. They can turn this thing around quickly with a rookie quarterback with the right moves offensively and with the offensive talent they have right now.
Yeah, 2 quick things in closing. Aiden O'Connell, we're not saying he won't be on the team next year. I think Aiden O'Connell has proven that he can be a backup in this league and he should be on this roster at least to his rookie contract for the next 4 years, 3 years after this year. He's earned that. He's played well enough to say you can win with this guy when you need to for a couple weeks here and there. I'm not ready to say he's taking you to the promised land. And then I started thinking about the coaching landscape. A lot of people are reaching out asking me like Jim Harbaugh this, Jim Harbaugh that, but this is a weird coaching cycle because I think all of the offensive young minds, for the most part, have been picked apart. All the Shanahan disciples, all the McVay disciples. There was a run for years where teams were just hiring them all away. And now we're at a point where like a lot of defensive coaches haven't been hired in the last 4 or 5 cycles. And a lot of the better names are actually on the defensive side this year. So there's going to be teams that are just going to have to bite the bullet and hire defensive coaches. The flow of the young offensive minds in the NFL is a little behind right now. So it's going to be tough, even to go out and hire an offensive coordinator if you go with one of these defensive minded coaches. I just don't know if there's that slam dunk offensive mind that you're going to bring in right now if AP's not the guy. There's just not a lot of options out there. So the Raiders may have to go the defensive route this year. And I don't know. I don't know if Harbaugh's a fit. I know, like I said, a lot of people have been reaching out to me. I've had several people ask me what I thought about Harbaugh. And like we talked about during the last coaching cycle, if Mark Davis wanted Jim Harbaugh 2 years ago, he had to make one phone call and he would have had Jim Harbaugh. Mark Davis didn't make that phone call by all reports. And I don't know if Mark Davis really wants to get into I'm going to pay another coach
$12
$10
million,
million a year
$15 million
for 8 to 10 years and have
Yeah.
to bite the bullet. I think he's bitten that bullet twice now. And he may just go the other route and be like, you know what? Let me get a guy, a defensive minded guy, maybe Dan Quinn, can come in here on a cheaper deal where you don't have to pay him that. Jim Harbaugh's going to command a long-term contract at a very high value, and he's going to want complete control. I don't want a head coach that has complete control. It just doesn't work. Hire the GM, and you may miss out on some candidates because you're going to have to interview multiple minority candidates from outside the building for both the GM and the head coaching job. So they should attack the GM first. And if it takes them a couple of weeks, and even if it's Champ Kelly, and you're in the middle to late January and you lose out on a couple of head coaching candidates, that's fine. But get the GM first and let him hire the coach. Enough of these tandem things going on.
And interviewing Kelly and AP does not count towards.
And Winston Moss and Charles Woodson.
somebody asked me that.
Lincoln Kennedy.
It was a fair question. He was like, "Hey, does that count if we interview those guys?" It's like it does not count. It does not count.
It has to be two from outside the building.
Outside the building. You can't do the Winston Moss. Who else will come to mind? I'm not sure what else, but yeah. And listen, and also John Gruden is not coming to be the OC, and Hugh Jackson is not coming.
Did you hear the latest Gruden rumor today?
Not Indiana.
Apparently, Indiana. I saw that.
He's not going to Indiana.
John Gruden should just count his money. Don't go coach Indiana.
So here's my thing. So the one thing about John Gruden is not, and interesting enough, today that on the 2005, like one of the top quarterbacks decommitted from Colorado. So something's going on there as well. But him on a recruiting trail like that's pretty, like, it takes a special human being to never take a break from football. Like now with the transfer portal and recruiting, like in college football, like there's no break ever. Like, so like at least in the NFL, you do get a little bit of a break. But like, you know, they get no break. I can't see John Gruden like just being the constant recruiting, getting a staff. Like it's not gonna his defense, his whole philosophy. I don't know. You're gonna run Spider 2 wide banana in college. Like that's not gonna. And in Big Ten football, that's not gonna work. And like when's he getting his veteran quarterback? He hates young quarterbacks. It's like where is John Gruden
transfer portal?
Transfer portal for veteran. What's he gonna get? Bo Nix is. See,
what's Keaton Slovis doing?
He's still in Pittsburgh. I know, seriously. I mean, go get Max Brown. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I don't know.
I do think Mike McDonald for Baltimore. The problem with defensive coaches is they're not defensive coordinators when they become head coaches. They don't call the defense. Mm-hmm. I love defensive coaches that just blitz, like put the pressure on the other team, dictate the terms.
100%.
Patrick Graham, as well have you done? Like you don't blitz, your packages aren't effective. Like Max Crosby's getting there, but like he's getting nothing out of the rest of that defensive line, and he's not creating opportunities for guys to work one-on-one. They've tackled well, they've played well against bad quarterbacks for the last few weeks, but can you imagine like a Raiders defense that just like brought the house all the time and just created turnovers and sacks and down and distance and field position? Like, when's the last time that's happened?
Yeah, it just I don't know at all. So, all right, Ray Nation, we will continue the dream, and see you during the rest of the week. All right,
I got to watch the All 22 this week.
It's gonna be fun. It'd be good.
Jacobs up the middle. So
yeah, exactly. That's why the whole timeline on Twitter is gonna be Jacobs up the middle. Oh my god, or deep shots over somebody's head. That's great. All right, Ray Nation.
All right.
Peace.
Take care.